In this video, we will focus on an open pedagogical practice known as social annotation. Social annotation uses technology to help students draw meaningful connections to texts in line alongside their peers by practicing the strategies of academic writing in context. Most of us have participated in annotation by scribbling notes in the margins of a book, or more formally submitting an annotated bibliography for a course assignment or to organize our scholarly thoughts. Now consider taking that practice and starting a conversation among multiple learners. There are many ways social annotation can be used in your online psychology classroom. For example, one frequently used social annotation tool is hypothesis, which can enable the sort of collaborative meaning-making that leads to learning. Social annotation contributes to group inquiry, establishes associative connections, and intensifies multiple perspectives. Social annotation can be useful in a variety of psychology classes. For example, research methods courses could use social annotation to teach students to critically read and evaluate empirical articles, while introductory courses could use articles or chapters related to the week's specific content. Instructors can use hypothesis in a multi-phased collaborative learning experience that looks something like this. In the next part of this video, we will demonstrate one possible way to use hypothesis with your students. First, ask learners to annotate a portion of a text or a class resource. Let's take an example from the Human Development Unit in Introduction to Psychology. We can have students read the chapter about families, and then we can use social annotation to further illustrate Baumann's parenting styles. Working in groups, students will be directed to identify a pop culture example to describe each parenting style. They can then link a video example right to the text. In Phase 2, we'll ask learners to respond to their peers' example by identifying evidence from the parent-child dyad to support that parenting style classification. For example, students should comment on what specific behaviors from the video support the identified parenting style, and whether or not they agree that that video is a good example of a specific style. Finally, Phase 3 asks students to consider whether these ideal types are beneficial for our understanding of parenting styles. For example, if students agreed that the video was a good example of a parenting style, they could discuss why they think so. If not, they could discuss what behaviors they'd expect to see. Additionally, they could speculate on how the parenting style might influence the child's behavior. Of course, this is just one quick example of how we can use hypothesis to engage students in reading text together through social annotation. For a more detailed analysis of how to use hypothesis, visit their website. You may be wondering how to incorporate social annotation into your classroom, so we want to leave you with a few tips for best practice. First, we suggest the use of pop culture examples, which allows students to connect the material to the real world in a way that is fun and meaningful, while discouraging personal examples that may violate a student's privacy. Second, we encourage you to be mindful of power dynamics within your classroom. Brown and Croft note that social annotation involves both the assertion and expression of power, and suggest that educators monitor student interactions closely to avoid underrepresenting minority perspectives. Finally, we suggest doing a trial run of any social annotation assignment before the graded version to allow students, particularly those less adept with technology, the chance to get used to the framework. In summary, social annotation represents a form of critical engagement with both texts and one another that can facilitate the meaningful, long-lasting learning that we seek to see in our students.